The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are...
Good afternoon, and welcome to the Surplus Lines Expanded Appetite webinar hosted by Stuckey and Company. It's right at 1 o'clock. So we're going to go ahead and handle a few things and then get started with the PowerPoint. So first, before we get started, as you know, I see a few of you that have been here a couple, 3 times. So on the right-hand side, there's the GoToWebinar control panel. We are recording the PowerPoint today, the presentation today. But if you'd like to ask a question, you can, or you can also chat. Both are on the right-hand side of your screen in the control panel. Next, we will send a follow-up email with some information about the webinar. That would include like a link to the recording of the webinar, the PowerPoint presentation as a PDF, and as you'll see in a little while, we'll also get into kind of like an appetite guide, 10 top classes, and some expanded classes as well. Also, we are going to try to fly through some of the presentation and then get some questions answered at the end of the presentation, maybe about eligibility or state availability or whatever. So let's go ahead and start. Well, maybe I should introduce Jerry Lovin. He is the lead surplus lines underwriter at Stuckey and Company. And thank you for being here and making yourselves available, during and after the presentation.
Glad to be here. Hi, everybody.
So let's see what we can do. So Stuckey and Company is a 27-year-old MGA. We provide our agents with access to all of our carriers. It's basically turnkey access. We really don't have any minimum premiums, but we do have 5 commission buckets. So 50,000, 0 to 50,000 in production, 50 to 250, 250 to $1 million, $1 million to 2.5, and 2.5 and above. So, there's no minimum premium, but you get rewarded for the work that you do. Stuckey and Company does everything you would imagine an MGA to do. Most of the time, an agent will bring a program to us. They might have a specialty in a certain area of the country, and they'll bring it to us, and we'll use our licenses and marketing to bring it to the rest of our agents. So if an agent doesn't bring us a program, sometimes we'll create it. We always underwrite, rate, quote, bind. We issue right out of our systems. We endorse, renew, invoice, report. We integrate between your systems and ours, or the carrier in our systems. And a lot of those integrations are pretty cool. They're based off of standard APIs that you can build right into your website. Sometimes we handle the claims. Most often the carrier does. But like I said, we always market and do the training. Here's our programs. A lot of you, I think a lot of you are familiar by the look of the attendee list, but Safety Tech is an insurance program for the technology industry. We do property, GL, comp, auto, all that stuff, but our real hook is the technology E&O, which is a 4-part insuring agreement: E&O, electronic media, network operations, and cyber liability. We've had it for 22 years. But we also do A&E, architects and engineers. Harbor Guard is marinas and boat dealerships. We have like 350 classes under a program that we just labeled MPL for miscellaneous professional liability. Element for the green energy industry. We do personal lines, commercial lines, and if it falls outside of the commercial lines, it goes into our surplus lines area. So we try to do that automatically here at Stuckey and Company, but sometimes it goes directly to the surplus lines department, depending on the risk. So let's get into the ISL, which is the Integrated Surplus Lines Solution, and kind of talk about that a little bit. These are the coverages that we can provide under the small commercial binding facility that we have with Maxum. We can do, obviously, GL property, liquor, inland marine employment practices, and professional. No monoline professional under the binding facility, but we can do monoline professional for pretty much any class otherwise. Anything worth noting here?
Pretty wide open appetite, though, yes.
Yeah. Some added coverage options that Maxum includes are listed here. You know, assault and battery. I love the battery here. Couldn't find an icon that was appropriate. Cyber liability, special events, physical and sexual abuse, and identity recovery are all given at different sublimits, and they're all identified on the quote proposal when we send it to you, alongside the forms. I think most of the time you actually include all the policy forms.
We will. We'll include all policy forms with our quotes.
So this kind of gets into the meat of it. About a year ago, Hartford purchased, and many of you are aware, the Maxum insurance company, and it's the surplus lines company that were contracted under the binding facility for them. So one of the reasons they did that is because they align so well. That, you know, Maxum's classes align very well with the Hartford Small Commercial classes, and even their thresholds align fairly well with the binding facility over with the Maxum. So these are basically the top 10 industries for the Hartford. So we try to place it, when a submission comes into us, we try to place it with an admitted carrier. If we can't find an admitted carrier that will write it, we will place it with Maxum under the binding facility. And these are some of the thresholds. So 20 million per location, that's a huge number. So 20 million property values, 12 million comp. And, you know, if you go down through there on the technology services, it's also 20. And some of them, like some of the tougher risks, wholesalers and restaurants and associations and labs and things like that, only go up to 10 million per location, but 15 million per, 10 million per location, 15 million per policy. So I wanted to put this on the board before we went into the underwriting for the surplus lines program, just to show you the industry classes. Here is the small commercial thresholds for the surplus lines program. So under business services, it actually goes up to 40 million sales, and it's a ballpark, but and anything that goes above that, we can sure submit otherwise outside of the binding facility, but they overlay one another extremely well. And I'll also send this PowerPoint to you, which will give you both of these classes. So let me sum it up on an additional slide. These are the top 10 classes. So the left two columns here are target industries for both the surplus lines and Hartford. Business services, finance and insurance, professional, technology, contractors, lesser's risk, manufacturers, restaurant, retail, and wholesale. Those are pretty standard BOP classes. The right-hand column is really where it differs in the expanded guidelines. So if it's new in business, the operations are a little crazy. They're doing business, it's a contractor, but they're doing work on an airport. So the different industries served, any habitational, sometimes you'll get a manufacturer that actually installs stuff as well. So, and that'll fall outside of the guidelines of an admitted carrier many times. You know, because of loss history, location, insurance score, you know, all of these are things that I think are go above and beyond a standard admitted guideline. We made a icon set for the surplus lines program for the industries. So I wanted to make sure I used that icon set. This is a broad class eligibility, whether it's kind of the industry that they're in or the industry that they're serving. These are basically all the industries that we have available. In fact, I think it's every major SIC industry class. So, you know, there's really not a ton of excluded classes of business that we won't look at. A few like notables that we really aren't ready for are, well, anything with garage keepers legal liability, for example. We don't have a garage keeper legal liability policy form, so, you know, we can't write the coverage, although we probably would if we had that form available, because it's, you know, it's requested quite often. But
yeah, if I could, that is a form obviously you'd need for if your client was auto repair, but what it does is we're able to offer the premises liability, but it also opens us up to be able to quote the lesser's risk for automotive industries too. So although we may not be able to include that garage keepers, we can quote them for lesser's risk or premises.
Good point. So, you know, our values, kind of where our head was when we were designing the program and finding the market. We wanted an A+15 rated carrier. We wanted to make sure we competed with the standard carriers on the minimum premium, and we wanted to increase the eligibility. We're actually probably quoting more than 20% that fall outside of the guidelines of our standard carriers, but that was our value, and we wanted to make sure that we made the tax filings for the surplus lines policy as easy as possible. So our service standards, you know, we wanted it to be easy to submit a piece of business. We can just take ACORD applications. So, you know, if you have something submitted to another carrier, whether it's on the other carriers' apps or just a standard ACORD app, we'll take it and quote it. On completed apps, we offer a 151 promise. So if it's in by 1, we get it out by 5, in by 5, we get it out by 1 the next day. And you know, honestly, the system is very easy. You know, we have a portal that with Maxum we log on to and quote, and you know, it takes name, address, city, state, zip, class, and payroll or revenue, and you know, we get a quote to you pretty quick. So sometimes if you need an indication over the phone, we can sometimes do that. And we wanted to make sure we, any questions that we had, any reasons for a declination, any reason for a sublimit or something like that, you know, was communicated to you, the agent, you know, and we wanted to give you real reasons, not, you know, just we are declining, you know, or we just can't write this. So if we ever do that, please ask us, but we strive to give you real reasons and be transparent on the underwriting. So that's kind of all I had. And, you know, just to open it up for questions, you know, I'd love to see you submit your next 5 small commercial accounts to us. We'll quote Maxum and let you, you know, show you how competitive it is, show you what kind of forms they have, and if there's an opportunity to cross-sell your existing book, we're running kind of a special on the commission of 15%. I think it's 0 to 50,000 in production is normally 12.5, and we're increasing that to 15. I think the competition is around 10% most of the time on surplus lines submissions. So that's some incentive. And, you know, just love to show you that we play nicely with other standard carrier guidelines. We go over their guidelines fairly well.
And if you have any accounts that you're not certain will fit the appetite of Maxum, they've got a great appetite guide. Feel free just to shoot any apps over you have, or just an email with a few details, or just give us a call, and we can let you know if it looks like something we'll be able to help you with.
Yeah, you bet. So here's a question. I think you mentioned it earlier, do you write lesser's risk only?
Yes.
So, and is it a fairly common submission? You're pretty
we see a lot of that, yes.
Can you write vacant land?
We can. Yes, we can.
And let's see here. Do you write contractors? You know, and a common one that I see in particular, I'm not sure if the agent is from New York or not, but contractors in New York.
We can actually even write general contractors, even 100%. If they sub out 100% of their work, we can also write those. So manufacturing risks? There is an appetite for manufacturing risk.
Yeah. Any particular exclusions or anything like that?
Not that would prevent us from writing.
Okay. Apartment buildings?
We can do some apartments. There's a limited amount of appetite, but we can do some apartments.
Let's see. I think that is all of the questions we have. Again, if you have any other questions, please contact us. This is the Contact Us screen. Jerry is the lead over the surplus lines program. We're having some great successes. Got another thing, you know, I know that you just wrote that roofer. It's an interesting class. We certainly don't write it under the admitted markets, but please give them a call.
I would like to point out my extension is 127.
Oh boy. Right on, 127.
Right.
And I will make sure that we send the follow-up email to everybody by the end of today. I also have a recent success flyer that we put out, if that would help. And I have the Accord apps that I'll include you. Most everybody has the Accord apps, but I'll go ahead and send that too. And you know, I'd like to thank everybody for attending the Surplus Lines webinar.
Feel free to reach out. We'd love to help you write some business.
Thanks, Jerry.